You get those haters sometimes, like, your 15 minutes of fame are almost up. I'm like, almost must be running on Portuguese here 15 years, bro.
Welcome to the summer vacation edition of the Truly Social Podcast, recorded in the offices of Radio Atlantica on the island of Sao Miguel, Azores, where we're fattening ourselves up, eating as many queijadas, aka Portuguese cupcakes, as we can.
Every 2 weeks or so, we deep dive into the topic of all things social. And lest you think that we're talking about social media, we are not. We come from the perspective that all things are social. Or as I like to say, social is an approach, not a tool. We aim to tackle all the subjects that connect people to people, people to brands, brands to brands, and bots to, well, pretty much everything. We are on a mission to get social back on track. And who the heck are we? Well, I'm Tara Hunt.
And I'm Carlos Pacheco, and this is Truly Social. So, this is a special episode for us because we're, as we said in the intro, we're on vacation.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're now recording this actually back from vacation.
Yes.
We're back at home.
Yeah, and we had time to record the intro to this podcast. Anyways, so this episode, we had the opportunity while we were in the Azores to hang out with this awesome comedy troupe that I love called the Portuguese Kids. Portuguese Kids are a sketch comedy troupe that use a very specific type of comedy that really speaks to me as a Portuguese immigrant or child of immigrants that, you know, really speaks to me. And I found it fascinating to discover them because of how niche their audience was. And when I found out that they were going to be in Portugal at the same time as us, I reached out and said, we have to hang out, we have to talk. And they graciously agreed. And we had a lot of fun talking with them and even having drinks with them. Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to talk about my experience with this. I am not Portuguese. Much to my chagrin. It's, awesome to be Portuguese, but I am not. And so I knew that Carlos had come across the Portuguese Kids quite a while back. And I knew that whenever I heard a good deep belly laugh coming out of the office or, wherever he was in the other room, he was likely watching a Portuguese Kids sketch. And I would run over and I would watch it and I would not really get it because my parents and my family and my experience of the world was not what I was seeing on the screen. Now, that being said, I knew that, having observed Carlos's family over the last several years that we've been together, that there are very likely, I see the resemblance, but because I was never on the inside, I think they keep it away from me. I think we heard the word for people like me is manja cake, like eating cake. Mm-hmm. I know in some other cultures, it's I think in the Jewish culture, if you bring a non-Jewish girl home, it's like a shishka or something. But anyways, manja cake, and I think it comes from Italian background. It means basically not of the, I guess, romantic language sense. So anyway, when we were in the Azores, it was really fascinating to me because I knew that Carlos was a huge fan, had been actually doing some work with them, and I really respected the fact that they had built this audience. But I grew a hugely deep appreciation for not only that they were able to build a really strong quote unquote niche audience, which is pretty sizable, but also that they saw the web as a really, they saw it really early on as a vehicle to get their comedy out further. And sitting down and talking with them in this interview, you'll hear, we got really deep into the various different stages of them awakening to this idea that they would become the Portuguese Kids from just being a general comedy troupe to awakening to the web as a social tool. And I thought like this was just a pretty cool story. So I'm going to shut up now so that we can get right into the interview. But anything else you want to add to the beginning?
For me, I discovered them mostly as YouTubers, and when I started talking to them, I just quickly learned that they're beyond YouTubers and they're entrepreneurs, and they've built businesses, different types of revenue generating businesses from their online celebrity, from what they've been able to build online. They have a touring business where they bring a bunch of people to the Azores and make them visit the island from their perspective. And they also have an online shop that doesn't just sell merch. It sells things that are very tied to the Portuguese culture. And, they've built a full business out of that. And they have a key advantage because they create content, and it keeps their brand alive and keeps their brand going and keeps the store, getting more and more online sales. So on top of their live shows, that they do multiple different types of live shows. They don't just do one type of live shows. So they're, basically using their social clout to build their businesses and stay independent. They've gone full time. They quit their jobs and they're doing this. And I've found that pretty amazing. So no more wasting time. Now listen to our interview with the Portuguese Kids. So we are in Sao Miguel on our holiday, and we decided to meet up with the Portuguese Kids, who are also on a quote-unquote holiday. We're sort of playing this very sort of loosely. There's no you need to answer these specific questions, but...
Actually, I have some specific questions.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Right. So introduce yourselves.
I'm Al Sardina. My family is from Sao Miguel, specifically Águas Torta, and I'm one of the members of the Portuguese Kids, repping Fall River, Massachusetts.
My name is Derrick and Albert.
Short and sweet. Love it.
Hey, I'm Brian Martins, the third and funniest member of the group, since the opportunity was left open, so thank you.
So yeah, I didn't really explain who the Portuguese Kids are. So Portuguese Kids are a troupe of immigrant comedians, or comedians that focus on immigrant comedy. I discovered you guys a couple years ago. I don't remember how. It was just on YouTube, and I saw your video, and I was like, this is awesome, because I grew up Portuguese, and being an immigrant and all that sort of stuff. The jokes you guys were doing were so on the ball, and I was like, I can't this is why YouTube exists.
They spoke to your soul.
Yeah, they spoke to my soul, right? Yeah. So, and ever since then, I've sort of been following you guys and wanting to go to a show, but it would never work out because you guys do live shows. And about 6 weeks ago, a little bit under 2 months ago, I don't remember. I reached out to you guys specifically because I think because we sort of knew we would cross paths here, and I said I wanted to record a podcast, and I guess since then we sort of hit it off and started working together and
we became BFFs.
BFFs, right? Exactly.
Well, you now own us. Thank you guys.
he optimizes channels, so it's a really nice into getting to know people with YouTube channels. Because I mean, this is where some of my questions will be coming into play, is because quite often entertainers, talented creators are great at creating stuff, but they don't they really suck at the other part of it, right? It's making sure that it's optimized to get in front of the right audience, and it's getting out into the world where it needs to get to grow efficiently.
So and you guys have grown immensely on social platforms over the last few years. I think you mentioned that you started off in MySpace.
Even before MySpace, we had what was the website? Do you remember? Out of the ludicrouspeed.
It was
Spaceballs reference.
ludicrouspeedonline.net. Such a ring to it, guys. It was people love this.
So you know what? We were on YouTube technically. Well, right at the beginning. The
we were very early. We've always kind of hopped on.
Yeah, we got a message from one of the original
creators
of YouTube says, "Hey man, I just wanted to thank you guys for submitting your video. It's on the front page of YouTube." And it was
That's amazing.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a nice.
Back
thing.
then we didn't know it was cool, but now we think about it all these years
that's
later.
pretty
It's
cool.
like, wow, that's
So, I mean, let's back up because you guys have been together for
Derrick and I have been dating since high school.
Before that, actually.
Yeah.
14 going on 15 years now.
For sure.
It'll be 14 years this
This October.
and you
2004.
started in the meat space, not online.
Not online. We started
Right.
at public access.
So
Oh, you mean like how we met? You mean?
Well, not. I mean, you can talk about that.
Oh
too.
no, that's boring. We grew up together. Next.
But like more like getting started with your sketch comedy, and like getting
Right.
into making it a
Well,
thing.
Let's just say we blew up on that Super VHS tip.
Yeah.
So for all y'all that don't know that,
Original media creators. No, but actually, this is okay. So we did meet a long time ago, and because of that, we've always been like really amazing in a room together. Like we've always just always told at parties, like, man, when you guys are together, it's something else, and it's just like we have this chemistry that. You really, it's just sketch comedy groups or bands that, it's something that they gel or whatever. We've got that. And to this day, we can get into a room and even in like non-comedy environment and we cut each other up. We just love making each other laugh. And it really shows. So based on that, we were always funny guys. So when we were in college, Al and I were doing this TV editing thing, and it was actually tape to tape. We're going to date ourselves here.
Linear days.
Archaic editing.
Yeah.
So we met this guy that did public access. And at the time, public access was like horrendous. It was just like this really... I don't want to talk bad about it, but it was like...
I equate it to like, man, what am I thinking of? Wayne's World. Like how like...
Or UHF.
UHF.
Weird Al,
those old references.
Yeah.
And
today
that's
we're
what
going
it
to
was
microwave
like.
a bowl of beans.
Yeah.
Well, they were desperate for content.
So there was a particular show. Actually, it was a couple shows. There was one that was like a wrestling one, and I think somebody made a comment about it. I'm like, man, those guys are terrible. I don't know what it was. And Rick said,
a buddy of ours was like,
kind of
hey.
runs the studio, and it was also a professor at the time in the program we were in, and he's like, yeah, he knew who we were. He's like, well, you guys think you're better? You think you could do better? And basically, he offered Derrick a shot of like, I'll give you guys a little time slot. What do you think you can do with it? And of course, we went to what's natural to us, which is being funny, being these funny guys together.
But it wasn't the Portuguese Kids at the time.
No,
it was
no.
different.
It wasn't improv at all. It was
Ludicrous Speed. That's the name of the show.
It was basically like, I mean, back then, Jackass wasn't even out yet. It wasn't even.
Jackass was
Jackass
Kind of
was out,
Actually, it
yeah.
was.
Because we did an alternate version of
Buzzkill,
Jackass
like-
where they actually did things that didn't hurt them.
Yeah. So it was
Remember
kind of
that?
like taking that idea of these friends and just saying rolling, and like, what can you do to be funny? We play characters, and what we would do most of the time is like come up with silly, just quick.
He's being nice
Fast
about it. It
jokes.
was inside
It was
jokes
terrible.
that weren't funny.
It was
And we
terrible.
would be like, hey, let's
Bad.
film this inside joke and put it up on there. And then our friends would watch and be like,
So
But
give
they were-
us an example of like what that.
All right,
like,
so a perfect one was it was like, all right, there's gonna be this funny sketch where like we're a bunch of, we filmed a lot of stuff on campus and we had a car parked in the parking lot. I'm like, oh, what if like one of the guys are like, we're gonna play a prank on him and he's gonna go to class and we're gonna go piss in his gas tank, and then that's what the sketch was. The guy leaves his car, hits the alarm, the other guys are hiding behind the bush. They go, all right, let's go. One guy pees in the gas tank. They walk away. And then the guy hits the alarm again, and it cuts to like a footage of like a car blowing up, and then back to us looking at each other.
Yeah.
Let's go get coffee, and then we walk away. Like it was just
then there was just other silly ones
nonsensical
like
stuff.
like Naked Guy, where it was jaywalking in and he had like
going old school
paper
now.
covering his nips and his crotch area and just coming in and like, we're ready to go out. But like,
The thing is, like, the people were complaining about him, and he overheard people complaining about him, but they weren't complaining about him being naked.
It was just
like
the
other
it
things.
wasn't
It's so
the
annoying.
obvious thing.
So he comes in naked, and he's like, you guys talking, can we swear on this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, like, you guys talking shit, but we could never even film the sketch because we couldn't stop laughing because Jay was naked
With
on
like
camera.
post-it notes. It was
With
post-it
like,
notes.
like a piece of paper, dude,
In the
and the
front,
paper
post-it
said
notes.
ludicrous speed
Just sits on the paper,
online.net.
right. Online.net, that's
man.
right.
The paper was just there because that's technically what would have been like the graphic,
bad.
but it was so
That
stupid.
blur out.
Post-it
thing.
notes are pretty small, so I don't know.
Well,
being-
Sydney used to
he's
make some
being
big-
mean.
Well, no, the bottom
It was
was a
a-
piece
it
of
was an
paper,
8
but he
by
had
10.
post-it notes on his
On the nipples,
nipples.
for sure, yeah.
Can I just go back for a second? And like
Yeah.
Derrick asked permission to swear. He's like, "Can I swear?" And he's like, "Shit." What a pussy. I thought he was going to drop an F-bomb or something. Anyway.
Listen, man, I'll
Go
drop
for
an
it.
F-bomb when it's appropriate. I start at A. I don't go right to Z.
Right.
So fast forward then. You're doing public access. You guys are still working in like day jobs.
Yeah, we had day
Shitty-ass
jobs.
day
So we were still kind of in school full time at the time.
Right.
I was working third shift, so that was rough. I was like a
Yeah.
zombie sometimes on
We're
that.
pretty dedicated to it. Though. Like every Thursday, we'd film, and then we'd end the day at TK O'Malley's, which is an awesome place for boneless buffalo wings. It's closed
So
down now.
good.
Yeah.
But we used to just have that routine every Thursday, and it was just more of like a hobby at the time, just fun stuff to do.
It was, but I think we still all
You didn't
recognize
get
that we
paid
had some
for
kind of
it.
like,
No,
oh god, no.
God, no.
We had that passion for it. It was like we found the thing we like to do.
And did you have a following like that you were growing? Like were people saying?
Yeah, there were actually
Yeah.
random people who were like, "Hey, I saw your show on public access." I'm like, "Wow, people
Yeah.
watch public access."
Well, people always say like and that's kind of like the
Yeah.
Portuguese, the goofing on Portuguese people started on Ludicrous Speed. Like we
Right.
got together in the basement and we did something, which even today we never do. But it was just so. Our bubble was so small back then of being Portuguese. You know what I mean? Like we just didn't know how wide it was. 'Cause it was
Now-
before the internet.
Now Portuguese people are everywhere.
But we did some stuff, poking fun at Portuguese living, and like I said, we wouldn't air that today. But
Yeah.
people would be like, "Man, that stuff you guys doing, that's pretty funny," and like they would never say any other compliment about the other stuff.
Just the Portuguese
Like just the
stuff.
Portuguese stuff.
So how did you like? So then did you from there start to do the live stuff, or
No.
from
No,
there?
no.
It started dying out. We were like, it's tough because like you're doing it for fun, like it was a
Yeah.
hobby. So
Right.
people had normal jobs, and we couldn't really dedicate every Thursday. After a while, it was just like,
Right.
all right, this isn't really going anywhere. And then Derrick and Al happened to stumble upon these improv classes being
I think
that
you
were happening in Boston
Yeah,
at the
you-
Improv Asylum, and they had signed up. Took a couple of classes and they were like, "You guys have to come see this. Like, we've been doing this wrong. Or the process of writing and
That's exactly
Well,
what we did.
what
Right.
we
TV
thought was
show
improv.
and
We got in. We would tell ourselves, okay, here's the concept. Two guys are going to run down the street and they're going to find a ball, and then the ball belongs to a kid, and they save the kid's life. Or something like it was loose concept. Then we'd say go, and we film and everything. We improvised,
Right.
and we thought that that's what improvisation was, the actual technique. Until we got to these.
And then there's all
into
these
these
rules
courses, these
around-
classes.
like finding a middle,
And
beginning, and end.
there's
and-
so much technical behind learning the real ways to improvise and how to create a story the right way and hopefully make people laugh. And it was just incredible. Like it was so eye opening. We're like, dude, everything about Ludicrous Speed is garbage. You're like, we're
Right.
idiots. We sucked. Here's where we start. Here's our first steps, and that's.
And it
And
was
then
there
that's
that
where it
we
kinda-
kind of
we
like
kinda
started
moved forward
brewing
from.
the idea of Out of the Gutter, which was the next level before Out of the Gutter became the Portuguese Kids. But like, when we were there in the Improv Asylum, then Jay and Brian went in after, and then Al and I were.
So what was your
ahead.
medium at that point then? With
Nothing.
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 We
We
were
were
just
off the grid.
focusing on the
There was no
classes.
YouTube
Yeah.
yet.
There was
YouTube
none of
wasn't out yet.
Right.
This is
Wasn't
before
out.
YouTube
What-
actually launched in
what
2000.
year?
YouTube launched, I think, in 2005.
Five?
We were
Four,
taking classes in
Yeah.
2000. It was 99, 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in that range.
Like,
So
I mean,
we
yeah,
just-
online video existed, but it was like not
It was-
like
yeah,
it was like
yeah.
bad.
you have
So-
people like Zay Frank. Do you guys know Zay Frank doing the dance, like how to dance?
Yeah, that guy-
early
yeah.
viral
Yeah, I
stuff.
know that stuff.
Like
Yeah. But like it was like uploaded video.
Yeah, it was
or,
like
something
36K.
that's,
It was
yeah.
like,
Email,
you weren't
email
really-
forwards.
Yes.
But yeah, it was there that we also started noticing, like, I specifically was always asking the owners business questions because I always saw something like, because where we grew up in Florida was such a blue collar town, there really wasn't a lot of entertainment growing up, and that's something that me and the guys always, like, even before the Portuguese comedy thing came in, we were like, man, we would really like to do like some kind of comedy scene in
Right.
our area, and it didn't exist. So I was asking them questions because I thought maybe we could apply that to something in Fall River. And little did I know that became a precursor. They actually seated us. They gave us our seed money to go full time.
They're very much
They're a
mentors.
huge part of our story. Yeah.
They saw a lot. They saw some potential in this. I think, like Derrick was saying, we had an interest because, people take improv classes for fun, or they're like, I want to get a little, I want to think outside the box in my job. And we're like, hey, how do we make this
do we
like,
get business?
work for
Yeah.
us? How do we make money from this? And they were like, oh, these guys are asking different types of questions. They're not like, I want to start an improv troupe in Boston and
I
just
think-
get free drinks at night.
I think even the instructors and then the owners themselves. So Derrick and I were lucky enough to have one of the owners teach a couple of levels himself, which he hadn't done. He just didn't do that, and we just it was happenstance, that we almost befriended this guy, and he kind of became mentors for us, and he recognized right away. He's like, man, I can tell. Like a lot of these people that come, they're they're an MIT student, they're or whatever, a single mom or this and that, and they do this kind of thing for fun. But he's like, I see you guys have this knack for it. But like you're dedicated, you're passionate. Like 99% of everybody that he's ever seen come through that program. He's like, they're locals. They're people that live in Boston. They're like, you guys are driving from Fall River? He's like, isn't that like an hour away? You do this every week, and in 6 levels was roughly about a year and a half, a little longer than that. Wow. So to get through the entire program, it was like you're going for it, And a lot of people drop out, and when we got to that point, we graduated, we knew like, okay, we definitely want to do this.
So the medium then was live at that point.
Medium was live.
No. When we were in class, it was nothing. We did nothing.
After that was live. Our medium was live, and we did a lot of just like
we did
on the street advertising. Putting like flyers on cars and taping posters to like to. Anything and everything. I was at a movie theater. There was a showing coming out. We were giving out pamphlets. And I gave one to a guy. I was like, "Hey, comedy show." And the guy looked at me and says, "I don't like to laugh."
Gave it back to him.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Wow, this is not easy."
Imagine how it's like. Imagine what it was like in New York. Those guys trying to do this comedy club.
I know, and we're just like doing this in Fall River and just trying to do something different. Like Derrick said, there wasn't any type of like comedy or anything happening like improv.
But we basically took a page out of the theater's book. Like they have the training center, they call it, but they're a working theater, and they're actually very well known. They're an incredible, funny place that represents Boston's comedy scene. And one of the things that the owner would always tell us, like, guys, go see improv. He's like, I know you're taking classes, I know you're having fun, you're learning stuff. Just go watch it, go see it. And they would give us like a student discount. Derrick and I would go. And I think almost every week we could, that we could afford to stay up there longer at night. And that's what inspired us. Like, man, this is how, I know we were doing ludicrous speed and that was just us with a camera. These guys are doing it in front of a live audience. They're hosting things. They're creating real improv in front of people and making them laugh. That's what we wanted to do. And we didn't have a medium at that point. It was just class.
Coincidentally, when they saw what we did and we told them about like ludicrous speed and we told them about like what we wanted to do. One thing that they saw way before even we saw it was the Portuguese thing. Because like both owners would say, you got something with this Portuguese comedy. And he's like, I remember clear as day, the day he told me that. He's like, you've got something with this Portuguese comedy. He's like, listen, everyone does regular comedy. So he's like, you can be you can be a small fish in a really, really ridiculously big pond with super funny people. He's like, or you can try to be a big fish in a very small pond and see what happens. Yeah. And we still fought him on that. Like I said, thanks.
You don't want to pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. Exactly. So we did regular comedy, and then we sprinkled the Portuguese thing in. And like during our intermission, people would literally like put our shirts like, hey, you guys want to do the
Portuguese thing?
Which at the time was called Portuguese Americana.
Right.
So we would show like two versions, like a car accident, and how the American dad would handle it, all loving, I love you, dad, son, and then the Portuguese version where the dad's like, you were sleeping, it's your fault, you were playing with the radio, you were doing this, it was just like these two different like
funny. It was a funny
extremes,
contrast.
and people were just like,
that really kind of blew us up a little bit. It was the Portuguese thing.
Yeah. Well, one of the pieces like that I really love about the web is that as a medium is that you can find your tribe. Online,
that's exactly what happened.
And you can like that whole big fish little pond. There's no such thing. There's like just like a whole bunch of ponds and they all overlap, and we're all looking to looking to relate to one another and to find our people. So it's like a perfect medium for it. So you went from but
I was just about to say like one of the things that when we talked to clients or anybody who's trying to grow something online is like they're often looking at what's been done, and they sort of want to do the same thing. And we keep telling us like, no, find something that nobody else has done and get in front of it, right? And it's like what will happen is you'll be the leader of that, that message or that voice, and you're going to build something out of it, right? And the world of online creators is basically that, is people doing things outside of the box, outside of the norm. And 10 years ago, you never heard of an unboxing video.
Right.
Even though like every company in the world had the opportunity to just record unboxing videos, right? So it's kind of like
That is so wild when you say that. Like you're so right though.
This is when I talk to any company that has like products, I keep telling them, it's like you have a warehouse full of stuff.
Right.
And you're letting a bunch of kids open it for you without you controlling the message and you saying anything about your stuff.
Yeah, but
right?
the problem is that these companies, they just get so hung up on the message, right?
Yeah,
Whereas like the reason that the audience responds to the unboxing kids is because like they can like kind of break things and break the rules and say things like this is stupid. Like brands aren't going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, the perfect example is
and it's more authentic that way.
Yeah, and
sure.
to me, it's like the perfect example is like the iPhone bending video, right? It's like Apple would have never done that, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they were
that
freaking
guy
out
who did
there.
the bending, he got like 30 million views out of that, right? And it's like he blew up, right? So, anyways, the same thing with the Portuguese stuff. Where it's sort of like, you know, you're stuck in traditional media that sort of limits the type of content to specific communities, and you know, you guys went on the web where it's all free, quote unquote free, but a lot more sort of like open and can catch a very sort of like a niche audience that you know nobody would have thought that would be like a you know a type of comedy that really speaks to our type of like you know our community, but not just on the Portuguese level, but on the you know English, you know American or even like Canadian like us, but like the immigrant you know voice, right? There's not a lot of people.
No, and I'm glad that we stumbled upon that so early, because I feel if we started today, with this social media environment, I don't think we would last. I think we'd
definitely
we learned a lot on those early days of YouTube and MySpace. You know, like
talk about the early days of YouTube and MySpace.
So Wild West of YouTube.
Our first social media platform was MySpace. Our first friend was Tom.
So we did YouTube after MySpace?
We did YouTube. YouTube came after. Okay, YouTube came after.
So we weren't even doing videos on MySpace. We were just, hey, come see us live. Check us out live. That's it. You know?
Show next week. Please show up. Like we need more than 3
Did
people.
Did it drive people in those days?
It did.
Yeah,
it did. I mean, we had we had a pretty solid following. People would come down and watch us live, and we did there was like a little restaurant that opened up, and the guy had not been from Fall River, and the restaurant struggled a bit, so he was open to new ideas, and he had a spare room up top that fit about 140 people. And we would just do shows there every single night. Every Friday. Every Friday night. So in those new years, that's where we really got so much, like literally like hundreds of hours worth of practice on stage.
Figuring out what's working,
what works, what doesn't work. So
dealing with the public.
Right.
So by the time we blew up a little bit and we were doing live shows, like we were so seasoned from like those early days in front of like pretty much just Fall River friends, you know. So we got all of our stumbles out of the way on that for live stage stuff.
Yeah, and the big thing too that really helped us was just like how humbling it was, you know, because there were like some nights we would have over 50 people, and we're like, man, this is like the biggest night ever. And then other nights we literally had just 3 people in the audience, and there was like at the time there was like 8 or 9 of us.
Yeah,
you know, like we're gonna give them the best show ever because they paid, they're here. But like you know, those like you know the struggle and just sticking with it every weekend.
How do you keep going, right? Like that's the big thing. Is I think a lot of people would have given up at that point. Like what kept you?
There were some of those nights that the big numbers came, and we were like, you know what, we got to figure out why that worked that way. And then like you know, after a while, like we got a little smarter about it. Like you know, we would have these like sit down meetings at whatever, one of our houses or apartments or whatever, and just talk about, okay, well, this worked, you know, this show was big, and what did we do differently more advertising wise? Like, you know, we hit this shopping center instead. We went here. It was just.
And at the time, I was working at in retail. I was a manager, so like I took a lot of what I learned and used at work, and I applied that towards promoting stuff. So like I always I was always interested in the business side of that of the aspect because just because I wanted to figure out how we can make money at this, you know. Right. I always had this.
Still figuring that out.
It's always a struggle.
Yeah, but it was always a dream. I was like, I know somehow like we can do something with this. Right. I don't know what yet, you know, but it was like, but that's what kept us going. Is that idea, a dream, you know.
Right.
and then it evolved into, because it's just so great to make people laugh, but
the other thing too is just, the content and the kind of show. So like, we were doing sketch, we were doing improv, and then we got a projector. So we like filmed some sketches, some like video sketches that would play we'd play one video sketch this week, another week, so people were just like, well, all right, these guys are like kind of showing us something different between the improv and sketch. Yeah. Now we got a video sketch, and it was just like, and there's, we played these like, music in between each sketches, and it was a big learning experience.
Where do you find your inspiration?
Back then or now? Because back
well,
then...
I mean, I guess all along the way. That's actually really interesting.
Things that we learned in improv, like what's going on in your everyday life that like, you find funny or just makes you laugh. And paying attention to what makes you laugh. That was one thing we always learned. Like, sometimes you go out throughout the day and you're like, that's so silly. And you just forget about it. And like, a good improviser hears and it's so silly. And you're like, wait a minute.
Your brain
how do I build on that and make that funny? Some people are like, wow, where did that come from? It's like, it's just the normal things in life. So many
fans will just tell us regular stories, and like I will stop them, or Brian will stop them, like that's going to become a sketch.
Yeah. I won't tell people that, right?
We had by listening to it, because you're always, as a comedian, you're always just
there's a filter that you have that's kind of going on.
Yeah, you try to use it as much as you can.
We play a game. Well, we don't. In training, there was a game we would play called heightening and exploring, and you kind of just. I mean, they always explain to you, like everybody improvises. I mean, you wake up every day, you don't have a script, you don't know what you're going to say to them.
Right.
And we kind of just would be up there and pick like a relationship between these two people, and like just have a conversation, just as if you thought it was normal. And they would the instructor would find reasons to say, okay, I'm going to pause you there. What you just said, I want you to heighten that. And then just try to find ways to make that thing. Like, I found a ball. No, heighten that. I found a giant ball, a giant red ball. And he forces your brain to start training it to think, how do I make this interesting? How do I find details and things and normal stuff? Right. And as an improviser, you do that and find the funny in that. And how you heighten and make it bigger and funnier.
It's a muscle, right? That you're developing. And it's like what we do, and we, like, even when we talk about being a content creator online, even if it's not funny, if it's just like, how do you get up every day and like find inspiration to create interesting content? It's like early days of blogging. There was like a t-shirt that we wore. It was like, I should blog this. Right? Because you're always like, always just have to like train your brain.
And that's exactly it. You gotta train it. And
we vlogged last year. Actually ABV always be vlogging. Yeah. We never vlogged.
We never did it.
We're the worst vloggers.
We vlogged the most
it's so much
uninteresting things.
Yeah. It is a ton.
Too much. Yeah. It's too. I have like literally hours upon hours of like raw footage. And like every time I go to like start editing, I'm like overwhelmed. You know.
We have a lot on our plates too. So it's.
Yeah, you kind of need like get to the point where you have a crew that can follow you and do that stuff for you. That's what Gary Vee has, and I'm so envious of it. Like he doesn't have to do any of that stuff. He has people.
We did have a friend of ours who's not a friend, but we met him. He's from California. He's a filmmaker. He's been filming a documentary on us. But he's paused it because we actually teamed him up with Maria Lawton, the Azorean Green Bean. Yeah. So he's actually filming her show now because she's going to work on a show for PBS Rhode Island. So he's doing that. So we paused. But he was a camera guy following us around, and for every so often, it was the coolest feeling ever. And we were in Seattle.
Until like a year in.
Maybe
You're like, get out of my face. I need a moment.
But it was cool being in public because like we'd be like in Seattle and people would like we'd be like, who are those guys?
Why are they famous? Space Needle and like security is walking us through.
Oh man, it's too funny.
Camera on us.
Now, because we are about social, like, can you talk a little bit about how, before MySpace, before YouTube, and before today's tools, how has social helped you grow your audience?
Oh my God!
Honestly, I would say YouTube was what really put us on the map.
Yeah.
Putting up videos and just like, at the time we were just putting up live videos of our live stuff.
Right.
So like, it was like we had fans and we're like, oh, all right, this is kind of interesting, but it was, it was very campy, or like, the lighting wasn't great, and we're just putting it up there. And then we put up a video. It was a Portuguese Christmas song. It was a take on Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song. So we did a Portuguese version of that, and
we edited like the worst looking, just the shittiest.
Just to put it up.
I did this with just pictures.
It hit 10,000 views. We're like, oh my God, 10,000. It was like 20, 30. That one hit over 100,000 views. Not right away.
I think. Yeah. It was in a month
and we were like, wow, this is like kind of
There's
unreal.
something
Like, all
there.
right.
The local radio station played it on the, it was like,
Nice.
whoa,
Okay,
yeah.
They
And
did a
then we
telethon
did,
at Christmas, remember that? And they're like, can you guys come play your song live on the telethon on like on a local access channel?
Wild. And then we did Shit Portuguese People Said, because like, it was the
The
Italian
shit girls thing. Yeah.
Shit Girls
Yeah.
Say About, and that just like people,
That guy-
we have our version.
I think that's
everyone
literally
was
when
like,
I discovered you guys.
yeah, because people were like,
Yeah.
we have our version here. Like, we have our
There was so
version of
many
this
going on at
shit
the time,
thing
too.
Say, you know?
Yeah.
And then Portuguese, and I know it was like the titan
third,
of them
yeah.
all. That one hit 1 million views in 5 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And we would
that's when
just, like,
swung and hit a home run.
Bombard. We just couldn't believe it. We're like, why is this like, like
But the shit Portuguese people say was kind of like a wake up call, because like it really resonated with a lot of people, and that one was the one that really opened the door, so we can we didn't even know there was a huge Portuguese community in Toronto,
California,
Vancouver, Cali. Like,
I mean, I had family there, but I never knew
Right.
the
Yeah,
I didn't
number
know
of
the
the
scale.
we
family,
never
the
knew
scope.
how staggering it was. We were like, wow, we're not alone here, and that's really.
And it
when-
wasn't just that there were Portuguese people, but that there were like full communities with like clubs
Right.
and
Right,
bands
right, yeah.
and festas and all.
Hungry for this.
Like
Yeah.
they literally,
Yeah.
what they had, it was like, man, we can't believe this got replicated in other places in the world besides Fall River. Like,
Right.
you know, it was crazy to
it
think.
was kind of a crazy time, because coincidentally, at that same time, a lot of these Portuguese communities were losing the youth.
Yeah.
Okay, so these clubs could no longer sustain themselves. So a lot of them were struggling, and in come these 13-year-old kids tugging at their parents' shirt and saying, "Dad, you need to book these guys at the club." So now it went from us calling people to like our phone, like literally going off the hook. Especially after shit Portuguese people say. Actually, when Portuguese I Know It came out, literally we were like we were touring nonstop. We were going to California like probably like 6 times a year.
And at the
like,
time, like, our fans had no idea. Like, they weren't really, so they would see our video, like, Portuguese, and I know it should Portuguese, but they weren't going back into the old stuff. So we're like, so what do you guys do? You just gonna sing songs? Like, no, we do like sketch and
right.
improv.
A
Like,
lot of people
what?
didn't know even like what it was that they were going to see. They just saw Portuguese and I Know It, and they thought,
they're just
I'm
singers. They're just
going
gonna
to pay
sing.
tickets to see just
These guys
at the
sing
very
songs.
least I'll see the song I like.
That's the least thing we are as singers.
Yeah, I definitely see that you guys' sort of background really helping you guys going beyond just being online creators, right? Like, because like when you think about like the scene of online creators, and they try to create these live shows, and then all they do is show up and just answer questions. And
Right.
it's
Right,
like that's
right.
all they do.
Well, yeah,
right?
they're
They
not
don't really- They're not
performers.
performers, right?
Right.
So whereas you
So you
guys
guys have
have
an
this
advantage.
multi-layer of a thing where
yeah.
like you know how to perform, you know how to do something beyond just a YouTube video, right? And it sort of like gives you guys a lot more of an opportunity beyond the social platforms. I mean, you guys are touring the world in general, right? Like when you think about you're going to Australia.
In a couple of weeks.
Going to
in a couple
Australia
weeks,
again in September.
You're constantly going across the states. You're
Going to
Canada.
right? When they let you in.
Bermuda. We were just in Bermuda.
Oh.
We were just in
Bermuda.
Oh,
We
it's a
literally
Portuguese
did.
community in Bermuda.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
people from Sao Miguel.
So
So
we did.
it's
Island
like
living.
it's like home. When we go there, it's the people
It's
love
so
us.
funny too, because we did the show there. We landed on a Thursday, did a show on a Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday. No, the show on Saturday.
On Saturday, flew home on Sunday, then came to San Miguel on Monday.
Monday.
So it was like no time to sleep. We were just
Yeah.
like in a
Dirty
whirlwind
quackage,
of
guys.
Jet lag. It's
We're
jet lag.
packed. We're packed.
Funny note though, when we were first starting out and booking shows, Derrick is, he does a lot of our bookings. Every once in a while, he would be like, it got to a point where we're like, guys, we got to change the name of our group because we were doing more Portuguese content. And he was like, it's really hard to sell the name out of the gutter, especially when he has to talk to somebody in Portuguese and they're like, you're going to clean our gutters? Like, no, we're a comedy group.
We actually
Out
did
of the
get-
gutter.
There's a sketch.
At one point, we actually
We did
got
have a
somebody
radio
that can
station
email
call us
us.
up, and they're like, "Hi, we're looking for ads, and don't know if you want to advertise your gutter company out of the gutter." And I was like, "Oh my god!" It's at that point I thought maybe
Just
we
when
should
you
change our
know
name.
that you should be
Right.
changing your name.
And it was actually right before we got our. It was on my Facebook. We found out that we were gonna get able to change our name, and that was like the big thing. Like
Yeah,
because
we got 2
at the
pages
time
now.
you couldn't change. We started a page called the Portuguese Kids just because we wanted to have that presence online. We
And
knew
that, so
much,
nobody
at
would
least.
take the name either.
Yeah.
We had
Right.
Out of the Gutter already
Yeah.
established.
And that had like I don't know 5,000 likes, and we had Out of the Gutter Comedy, which had 10,000 likes. So we would post literally on both of these, and so we really wanted to merge it. And when we found out that we could, we had to like go to City Hall, get paid. It was like absurd. We had had to do.
Yeah.
I did it all, and
So now you just talk to Carlos. right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's perfect.
you didn't have to go to City Hall to merge Facebook pages.
Back then,
No, they
it's-
needed to know I was a business, and
Yeah.
so I
You
had to
need that
show them the business that said
Derek had to get a
Portuguese
marriage
Kids.
license so the 2 pages could
birth
legally get.
certificate.
So finally, when that happened, that's when things started really, coming to us socially. Because once Facebook blew up, like we rode the coattails, significantly. Like we went from 15,000 likes combined on those 2 pages to like 50,000 to like 100,000. Now we're at 230,000, which isn't a lot in broader terms, but for
No,
the
it's
Portuguese
huge.
community, it's a good number. And
Do you know what? It's not about quantity; it's about like quality.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of
Sure,
the day,
sure.
like it's
Right.
a lot of these pages. A lot of the people that have the most following have like super low engagement, right? So
Right, they have a
yeah.
gazillion views, and then you
Yeah.
see a post, and it's like 3 or 4 likes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
Right.
What's
Yeah.
the content they're putting up?
Right.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at some of your content, and I was seeing that like there's a high percentage of your subscribers that actually pay attention to what you guys do.
Right.
So it's like there are, for you it might seem like it's low percentage, but like hey, brand pages on average see lower than 1%
Right.
in terms of like engagement.
Engagement.
Yeah, so
Like,
brand
okay.
deals. Speaking of brands, do you guys do brand deals?
Whenever they would knock on our door,
All
right, so
If they show up, yeah.
All right, so just to sort of, I think, kind of wrap it up, let's do a bit of a lightning round of questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh,
So,
you have questions?
I mean, it's not
Yay.
like that lightning.
Calvin, keep score.
So, number 1, I'll have each of you answer this. Favorite social network? It's lightning, come on.
Oh, Facebook repurposing 24/7. I'm all over that page. I don't know why. I love it. It's such a addicting.
So you mean, but
Well, your
my
favorite
favorite-
social-
platform, not
Platform,
specific,
so yeah.
not
So
specifically
just-
page, right?
Yeah,
Which one do you like?
I want to know about
use
your
most?
crafts, bro.
He's Al is crafty.
Would you
He's a
do it?
crafty Portuguese guy.
I'm crafty.
My favorite social media is Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now I would say Instagram, and then Twitter's right behind it.
And now, number 2 is if you had one piece of advice for future sketch comic / creators, what would it be? Starting on now.
Ask yourself before you post it, what makes this special?
Okay.
We don't even do that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm like, that's pretty good advice now. Should we start taking our own advice? God damn, man. You come up with this now 14 years later? No. My advice would be to earn it. Earn it. There's a lot of people out there just being like, hey man, can you share my stuff? Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, why?
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody share my stuff. I never asked a single person ever, hey, can you share my never. Earned it. And I feel that if you're funny, you'll get it. And if you're not getting it, guess what?
Keep working at it.
No, I was gonna say you're not funny.
Oh boy, we're killing dreams here.
Mine would be develop a hard shell, because
Guys like me.
the internet, like there are a lot of people who are
Tell you what.
very blatant, and they'll tell you you suck, and you can't fight that kind of wave. Develop a hard shell, pay attention to the people that like your content, keep creating off of that, and just let the hate bounce. And
Focus on the good.
Focus on the
man.
good. Focus on the good.
That's
Develop a hard
actually-
shell. Do not fight the trolls.
That's
Just
the best.
You're
sorry.
not as fat or as bald as they say you are.
I am bald, but I'm funny, so F you.
And then last one is like future dreams, goals. Like, where do you want to take this next?
We would love for our brand, our name to physically connect people back to Sao Miguel, in the Azores, in the sense of sort of the baby steps of what we're doing now, bringing people over, touring the island, and then letting them find their place here. Because we know our place here, and we celebrate it through our comedy, and we hope that's the opening door to get people to come back and love this place again.
That's beautiful.
Future for the Portuguese Kids. I want to see us tour less a little bit, so we can focus more on writing. So that's been like a humongous struggle, just because we're we're like a touring band, so if we don't tour, we're not making money, and then we can't pay the bills, and then I have to get a day job, and then I just don't want that. So I wish that we tour a little bit less, just so we could focus on writing more, because we actually have in the past couple of years had quite a few people within the realm of circles that we can kind of try to get something on Amazon Prime or Netflix or something like that, but we just need to really hash out these really great ideas that we've got. We just have to work on the time to get get these things onto paper or into a computer screen. So that's what my goals are for this next year, is just to focus really hard on that, fleshing these ideas out and just at least presenting them to people that want to hear it.
So potentially with an Amazon Prime or Netflix type
show. That would be my answer too. Honestly, I think it's just the next. That's the next. It seems like next logical step for us, and just something that we want to conquer, and just get something up there and say, and just to do it and try it, and not be afraid to try it too. Right. And that's a big thing that we did with the Portuguese Kids. Like, we do this full time. We took a chance and went full time doing this comedy thing, and left our jobs to do it. And the risk paid off. And we take these big risks within our company, and we can say it's our company because we do so much with this, that like the TV thing, there's no reason why we can't take that risk and throw it out there. And if it fails, we'll do it again until we get it right. We're going to figure it out. This is what we've been doing since day one. We've been just figuring it out and making it work. If it's broken, fix it, and we'll move on.
Overnight success created in 15
years. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
You get those haters sometimes, like, your 15 minutes of fame are almost up. I'm like, almost must be running on Portuguese time. 15 years.
That's awesome. Do you have anything else that you want to ask or add before we go?
No, I mean, I think there's something important to sort of like highlight the fact that you guys are like a multi-level, multifaceted sort of business, right? You're not just sketches. You're not just an online
YouTuber.
You're not just on YouTubers. You do live shows. You actually do e-commerce. You have your own online shop. You do tours, right? So like there's
multiple running shows too, not just Portuguese Kids.
Yeah, you have multiple running shows. Yeah, My Big Fat
Portuguese Wedding and Portuguese Housewives,
all drag show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I had my eyebrows. Let me tell you.
So we'll make sure that we put like links to all of the different tours and shows in our show notes for sure. Because if you haven't checked them out, you will. Even if you're not Portuguese, like I am not Portuguese, you'll enjoy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel
So this week's truly social heroes.
Yes, these are heroes. These are not necessarily the most famous people, or just people doing cool things online that inspires you and makes you go, yes, this needs to be done more. It could be companies, could be people. So tell me, Al, anybody online out there that really impresses you.
And why? I had something I was thinking of earlier, and I forgot it. So I'm not going straight to the next person. Lately, actually no, I got it. Gimlet Radio,
yes.
Gimlet Media. Right? They Derrick introduced me to a podcast that was about the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Last year, and then since then, and there's another show that they do called Crime Town, all about that first season about Providence and the crime scene and the mafia. Oh, wow. And they just, it's so eclectic, everything that they present. It's like, man, I'm so entertained by this. I'm kind of a nerd, and there's so much fun, cool, nerdy stuff that they put out there. I love just about everything I stumble upon.
Gimlet Media is literally the HBO of podcasts.
Yeah.
I love the Portlandia sketch that they did, the podcast sketch in the last season. Have you seen that?
No.
It is so good. They even have like a violin in the background playing as they're walking.
It's so perfect. They mimic like all these podcasts. It's so funny.
Awesome. There.
All right, so I know this sounds like cheesy or low-hanging fruit because he's in the room, but I want to point out my buddy here, Helder Medeiros, Heel Med. He's one of my. I've been watching him for years now. His very first video that I stumbled upon was him going to America and contrasting the words that he did. Like the words sound like something in in America, in English, they're something, but they sound like something in Portuguese. And the way he did that was just so clever and like small, like he
Drink. Yeah.
small is the drink here, right? And the guy in America thought he was saying small, like small soda. So so just stuff like that. And he's been multifaceted. He's first feet in the Azores, which is like one of my absolute favorites.
Wow.
The reason I like his style is because he's unashamedly Michelens, and I think that's like, because growing up in Fall River, like there was this thing, oh, you're from Sao Miguel, and you had this accent because you're from Sao Miguel, and like for us, no matter, and my parents are from Santa Maria, but like anywhere we tour, people know that we're from Sao Miguel, and they're not. They'll be like, Kurish Malamanyan. And, they try to get a rise out of us, but like they don't know. And I think it's great that it's something that they take great pride here in San Miguel.
Yeah.
They're very proud of that. And I love that. And that's why I like Helder's comedy so much, because he actually is very proud of that and he's unashamed of it. And there's so much funniness in that. Like, and I also like it because I can watch it with my dad. My dad doesn't speak English and, very well. And my dad's been in America longer than he's been in Portugal.
That's
That's wild.
A little bit of
That's how many Portuguese people live
that's
in
how
Fall
many
River.
Portuguese people live
Yeah.
in Fall River. My dad did not need to learn, and so I can watch something like that, and we can like laugh hysterically, and you know what I mean. And so he does other stuff too. He does Patreon. Like he's introduced me to stuff that I didn't even like know existed. So that he's definitely someone that I consider.
He also does woodworking on the side.
He makes horses.
He whittles things.
Whittlesons.
Mine right now is it's a toss up, but I love Fuck Jerry. I love how they've branched out and they have like the Fuck Jerry News and they have like their sports thing and like just the way they present all these like different things on their site. And then Snoop Dogg, oh man, that guy's killing it on Instagram right now.
Yeah, he's fun.
His stories are fantastic. The
Yeah.
stuff that he's sharing up is great. He's he posts a lot of like personal stuff up there, like personal, like a quick interview on his page, and he'll say some stuff. But I really like the content that I've been, between the two of them and how they expand their online presence. It's inspiring. Hopefully we can get to a point too where we can just put up some random stuff like that. People like, they don't say like, well, this isn't Portuguese at all.
That's hilarious. Well, mine is actually more of a shout out thank you to somebody who I have admired and known for a long time as a friend, Leonard Lynn. He was the founder of upcoming.org. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like a original Web 2.0 company. And why I want to shout out to him is because his lists on Foursquare of what to do in the Azores has been like
Oh, really?
amazing.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
thank you, Leonard, for visiting San Miguel and making amazing lists. And we should catch up sometime. That's my truly social hero.
So I don't have a specific truly social hero, but I've been noticing, and I don't know if it's because of the content I've been watching with you guys, but I've been noticing a hell of a lot more videos about San Miguel in the last little while,
Yeah.
right? About the Azores, right? And it's like been amazing to see all these like they're not huge YouTubers, but it's sort of like these YouTubers doing these aerial, sort of with the drone shots and doing like bringing Sao Miguel to the world, right? And when we were here 5 years ago, like we tried to do it in our little way, and it's like now it's like beyond anything, right? And I feel like social media has done
Super
such an
professional.
amazing job of bringing Sao Miguel to the world, right? Where it's like we're hearing more and more people that never heard of San Miguel coming over. We have connections, friends of friends that we got connected to. They're like, oh, you guys are going to San Miguel, they're going too, and you guys should meet up. And they're like, well, it didn't work out, but it was sort of like, wow, that's amazing that like these random people are coming. And I think that's because of like the Instagrams of this world, these YouTubes of this world, where let's face it, San Miguel is not good at marketing itself, right? Like they're really like the only people that came to San Miguel were expats.
I would say San Miguel wasn't good.
Yeah,
I think
wasn't.
now
Yeah.
they're catching on real quick because even with us coming back every year, even from last year, we've noticed an enormous amount of changes. It's crazy. Like Miradores are now, and Miradores are the sightseeing sections of the island, and now we're seeing that they're completely knocked down and like ready for parking lots, and they've got like a little walking area. Before it was just like Vista do Rei. It's like it was just the side of the road. And
you know where it was?
A wooden fence that you leaned on and you could probably die. They fixed it all.
In that aspect, I would say that it's definitely getting better. But social media has been the crux of that. I think that they've rode that wave pretty good.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Bye. We really hope you enjoyed this week's topic.
If you did enjoy it, we'd love to hear from you. Tweet us at @TrulySocial, @Miss Rogue, GUE, and or at Carlos Pacheco, that's CarlosPache_CO with your own insights. If you did not enjoy it, tell us why too. We do love feedback. And if you want to argue one of our points, bring it.
Also, please go over to iTunes or whatever podcatcher you use and give us a rating and review, and pass this along to anyone you think would enjoy it.
We're also looking for guests to join us in future conversations. So if you have something you'd like to discuss or an alternative viewpoint you want to challenge us with, please do drop us a line. You can tweet us or email us at podcast@trulysocial.ca.
Finally, we'd like to thank Radio Atlantica for letting us use their sound studios to record today, as well as a local YouTuber, Health Filmed, for organizing this get-together with the Portuguese Kids. The TSI podcast is produced by Truly Social Inc. and edited by Joe Pacheco at Inner Light Music. Until next time,
TTYS.